deep into the fall now as we look at our training calendar and obviously excited about Alabama coming in for a long scrimmage Saturday. And that's going to be a really neat event here. We're going to try some things at Hauser that I think the fans and including the students will really enjoy. And when you have a chance to have a team that was actually here in the regional, so they're familiar with this setting, but it's a cool day. It's going to be really, really neat. And we have football opportunities around the facility available. So throughout the course of the day, people can watch some of the football events that are going on leading into our football game that evening. It's fun when we get these opportunities to see our players play against a different team. It does get a little old. Any coach in any sport will tell you, hey, we're ready to see somebody else. Well, we're not at the point where we're ready for the season, but it is enjoyable to have another program roll in here. And we saw that when we went to Pensacola. That event for the Wahoos to open up the way they did and for DC Reeves to accommodate us. He's the mayor of Pensacola. For him to really provide in terms of the structure of the event and the day in the city, and we had a flyover with the Navy jets. For that event to evolve into what it did was really unique and special, and I think the people in Pensacola got to enjoy a Florida State team heading west and playing over there. So now you look at the Alabama game, the same type of environment will be provided here, and we have the best fans in the country, so this will be a snapshot for them to see essentially the majority of our team perform. And when I look at, we'll take a break in between the halves of this just so everybody can regroup and so we can get a new home plate umpire involved. But we try to get all of our players involved. It's not possible for all of the pitchers to pitch in this, but all of the position players will play. And when we scrimmage, we divide this up into two teams, and we try to make those teams balanced and even. And that's what we'll do this week leading into the Alabama game, and that's what you'll see when we play Alabama. You'll see two halves. I'm not at a point, I'm not concerned with depth chart or the first team and the second team. I'm not at all. Like, all of these guys have our uniform on. They're all going to go out there and play, just like we do when we scrimmage. So that's my approach to this, and there will be a time when we look more at, a starting lineup and a pitching rotation and how we use the guys. But at this point, it's to just continue to gather data and familiarize our staff with what our players look like, and then when you bring in a team of that quality, you get to see what they look like against somebody else.
Coming out of the last exhibition against Auburn, real disappointing performance on the mound. Just how'd you see those guys respond in the scrimmages that you had this week?
Well, we really had one of our most dominant pitching performances in our scrimmages, and that's really what you like to see. Then I walk out concerned about the offensive side. So to leave happy, you want to see the balance of a little bit of both. But I've seen both. I'm not sure I've seen both in one setting. And honestly, I'm not too concerned about that right now. You want to see dynamic stuff on the mound. You have to see that if you think you're going to pitch the way we need to pitch. Then you need to see the quality of at bat extend itself like through a lineup on one team and then through a lineup on another, so that you feel like when you mesh this, you have guys that can truly compete against our most dynamic arms. So it's, again, hard to assess until you kind of bunch it all up, but I periodically have seen good efficiency on the mound, and I have seen some electric dynamic at-bats. So that's a good combination. Now, when does it blend and morph into one team? Not for a long time. So that's the most difficult part of evaluating the scrimmages, is there's just so many moving parts, and you're going to have some ups and downs throughout the course of those long events where everybody's playing.
As a coach, how can you tell, or do you know when you have great against great pitching versus great hitting, as opposed to just maybe good pitching going up against good hitting? Can you identify that? Yeah,
those tough at-bats, are the pitchers really able to get ahead? Now, how you get ahead against really good hitters above average secondary pitches in certain situations might be the way to get ahead of some advanced hitters that seem to be able to handle most fastballs. Then you want to see the hitter show the ability to recognize and take some of those above average secondary pitches. Whether they're balls or strikes doesn't really matter as much as the sense of their ability to recognize and maybe take some of those. Then you like to see those at-bats deepen a little bit, and then you want to see two-strike type pitching. Now can guys climb the fastball up where they need to get it? Can they expand away or in? Can they expand secondary pitches down? And again, can the hitters recognize that? And throughout the course of those confrontations, you probably see some tough pitches fouled off. You see some mistakes in various counts that need to be really hit hard. So that's a deep way to look at it. The mistakes that we make need to be hammered, and the real quality pitches that are made early in the count especially probably are better off being taken. So I think when it's done right and your pitchers have their A game and your hitters are on it, you start to see some really intriguing deep count matchups. Like Soto's home run that he hit the other night was an example of an at-bat that just continued to go, and pitchers were executing elite stuff. Some of it in the zone was so dynamic that it was hard to hit, and he fouled pitches off. That's the length of the at-bat that you want to see sometimes when you know your pitchers are really on it, matching up with hitters that are also recognizing and taking, swinging at good pitches, taking tough ones, and it tends to deepen the count a little bit and lengthen the at-bat.
Thinking about some of those transfer pitchers and those new guys that we just haven't seen a lot of yet, how are you seeing them battle, attack, maybe trying to do some clean innings?
Yeah, like Joey Vellini has stood out. I think just the feel of you can go play baseball behind him the way he has pitched. He's been in the zone, very consistent, multiple pitches, fields his position. You're going to talk to Evan Chrest. He'll be in here in a few minutes. He has shown that. I think Micah is learning them and really what they need to maybe take the next step. Maybe it's shaping of pitches. Maybe it's something that's slightly mechanical. Maybe it's just the sequencing and those guys understanding how these games are going to essentially be called when you're pitching against some of the top hitters in college baseball, which is what they do in our scrimmages, but it might not be quite condensed into one group yet. So I like it. Prescott has shown some up to 97s, and he's trying to figure out his secondary pitches. And I may be missing somebody, but those three have really stood out. Kinnear has had some moments where it's been good. I think some of these guys that come in and you have older hitters, more experienced hitters, more physical, I think sometimes they're learning that when I do make a mistake, that thing can be hit and hit really hard and really far. So the best lesson for some of those new arms is what we can do when our hitters are on it. And again, that's come and gone. It hasn't been as consistent a lesson as I maybe would like to be able to teach through the offensive side, but those guys have stood out, and we still have plenty of time. You know, we have this weekend, we have really the full week this week, the weekend, and then you get into the Garnet and Gold game, which is us against us, but you're not limiting the innings and the at-bats because there's an Alabama rolling in. It's all us. So I think that'll be a good display too for those arms to continue to hone their stuff and gather some more innings.
Cam Leiter, he tweeted that he had a cleanup done. Just, I guess, from what he had done, you guys have kind of a better sense of where he's at in the timeline now, or is it just kind of a wait to see after what he had?
These are tough things, and you guys all know that he tried to rehab his way all the way through it, and we were in the ACC championship game, and he threw a bullpen in Charlotte, and we were hopeful that would lead him into having the ability to pitch in the postseason, and clearly that didn't play out. Continued to rehab, and I think everybody got to a point where they thought going in to figure out what this was and try to clean it up was the right maneuver. The good news is when they did do the procedure, it wasn't as severe as they thought it might have been. So that's really positive. And any athlete that's going through, think about, he was rehabbing since essentially April 1st through a couple weeks ago. You have to mentally get over that, and sometimes having that minor procedure physically obviously will help you, and then mentally it gets you over the hump and can be a really good reset for any athlete. And for somebody that's as intense about what they're doing as he is, you know, feeling 100% and knowing that you're good to go and that you're correct. He's not good to go today, but knowing that they saw what they saw, it wasn't that bad, and it was cleaned up and ready to go. That's an A+ outlook. Now, again, now you're back to the rehab timeline, and it's far too early to say where that goes. I can't tell you, do I expect him to pitch this year? I cannot answer that right now. Like I told you, we almost got to the point where we thought he was going to be available for a super regional Omaha, and we didn't get there. So it's hard to be totally accurate, especially when you're fresh off of a procedure. We'll get through the next couple weeks and know more about how the initial mobility and things that they're trying to get him to do in the training room are coming, and then we'll have a better idea. But it's far too early. I'm just glad it wasn't a big deal for him and it's over with, and I think physically and mentally he's on a much better runway back to competition.
Is it fair to say he wants to play, he's doing everything he can to be available for you guys?
Well, when you are out there and you're throwing that bullpen, when we're about to play the ACC championship game, he's done everything he can do to get back. It just wasn't right. No, he threw that bullpen, and Mike and I were thinking that this was on the right track, and then he had to throw one more, and it didn't go as well. So he's doing everything he can do. This is not easy stuff, and when you're talking about an arm of that caliber, you want to be precise and cautious with everything that you do. And we were with the rehab, we were before we made a decision, and the medical team made a decision to go through with the procedure, and now you have to be equally as prudent with what you do with the build-up.
Ben was another arm that had dealt with some injuries last year. I think you were able to get him back on the mound this week. Just how big would it be to get him back to where he was at the start of last season? If
he can do what he did yesterday on the mound, it'll help us. That was probably the most pleasant surprise I've had this fall. I mean, he was up to 5. I think he touched some 5s, which we haven't seen that out of him a lot. But when Phil takes those guys in there, and this is not just because of an injury, but if you go look in that training room throughout the course of the morning, the pitchers doing their arm care and their strengthening programs, it's a lot of work. So again, when he goes back out there, he was probably better yesterday than I've seen him. Now, it was an inning, but it was really electric for that one inning. Now, again, we have to get over that hump and feel comfortable today and tomorrow to get him back on the mound, but boy, yesterday was a step in the right direction.
I'm going to ask you this every year, Coach. Any closer to synchronizing the spring football game and a regular season game for you guys?
I am so far deep into the schedule, I can't even tell you. I don't think it's happening this year. Is it? You got to help me.
No, I don't know. I don't know if they've announced it yet. I guess that's part of the problem, right? Like, you're getting their schedule set right now. They don't have a firm date of when they're going to have their spring football. That's probably the easiest way to explain it. Because to everybody at home, it's like, why don't they do this all the time?
Well, the ACC hands us our schedule, and you can make certain requests, but meshing the timing of when we're making a request to the ACC for when we want our bye. We like to play the games on the front end, the series on the front end, versus stopping later in the year, in the middle of the year, to do a non-ACC series. So you're looking at a lot of things, and honestly, I'm working on the 2028 schedule. I'm trying to stay ahead of this. It's not easy, and my staff helps me with everything that we do in the program. I try to handle the schedule because I just think it's easier if I handle that. So when we make requests, that's a difficult request to make as far out as we are in planning the schedule. So I know it would be great for the fans, and it is something I probably need to do a better job of looking into. I have tried to line that up, and it just wasn't possible with what football was trying to do and with what we were fighting for on our side of it. And it's more of a timing issue than anything else. But I will look at that, because I know that would be a really cool event for our fans to come from the football stadium and bebop right over here, or vice versa, however you wanted to try to line it up. I know that would be a good thing. It's not as easy to pull off as we would like.
Carnes, I think he's really known for his bat, but behind the plate, since he's got here, how have you seen that develop? And Jackson helping out the new guys, how much of a coach on the field has he been behind the plate?
He's great, and to help, you have to be talkative, and you guys all know he's talkative. So that dynamic for him and that leadership capability of just the verbal communication of helping lead those guys. And Nate's older, and Carnes is a freshman. Carnes pretty advanced. Like, his catching is probably further along. When I watched the video of him in the recruiting process, and our coaches that got to see him play, you don't get to see everybody play a bunch of games, but you get to see enough. He's done a great job, and Brad works with those guys, and he does extra work, and he is really very deliberate and sincere about wanting to be a good catcher. And he is athletic. He can really, really run. So it's not your prototypical catcher. Like, this is a very athletic person that could really go play the outfield if you wanted him to. But his catching and throwing has been better than I thought. And when you look at the 194s and the 195s, and it's consistent. It's not a flash in the pan 195. He does a really nice job turning that thing around. And the bat is as advertised. It's the most advanced freshman bat I've seen. Now, how that factors in, and clearly when you have Jackson and Nate and Hunter back there, you have some depth and some experience, two older guys. So you like the way this lines up, and Jackson being a left-handed bat, clearly you have two righties and a lefty in play right now. That's really positive. And it should give guys time to rest, and you do have the DH spot, which you've heard me enough. I don't really look at the DH spot until I have to. I'm not here trying to coach DHs. We're trying to develop guys to play positions at a high level. And then when you make the lineup out, clearly you have that bonus to stick your DH in there. So Hunter has been really good. Jackson has been energetic as usual in leading and talkative and helpful.
Any other questions?
Good enough?
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Awesome. Thanks, Evan Chrest.
Evan, just what was it about Florida State that led to it being the spot that you transferred to this summer?
The main thing was, obviously, went to Omaha last year, want to go back again. Posey was a big impact. He's been great as a pitching coach. And obviously Link has done plenty for this program, has been a great head coach his entire career, and that's kind of what set this place apart from everybody else.
What has it been like working with Micah early on?
It's been good. It's been a great learning experience. Just been going back and forth, talking about different things, what I want to do, how I want to approach my outings, and it's been really paying off in the scrimmages.
Feels like you've been working really hard on the cutter. I guess just when did you add that, and what does that do for the rest of your pitches?
I added that in the summer, and it just gives me something that I can throw in the zone, gets into lefties away from righties, and keeps them off the fastball, off the slider, and off everything else.
What's it like being surrounded by guys like Jamie Arnold and Cam Lager? What's that done?
Oh, they're great. I mean, Jamie and Cam, they've been great help, like helping me adjust from Jacksonville to here. They helped especially at Pensacola, biggest crowd I've ever played for, and they've really helped make the adjustments smooth and easy.
You excited to get a taste of what Hauser's going to be like on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm super excited. Coming here, I would hear them, the fans get rowdy against me. Now having them at my back is going to be just a great experience.
How much pride do you take in how you field your position? I think you played shortstop some in high school too. Just how you field your position. How much pride do you take in that?
I take tons of pride in fielding my position. I mean, if you want to be a complete pitcher, you got to take care of what we call the 20%, and that's going there and doing the things that should be controllable, easy to the best of your ability. And I feel like taking pride in your fielding is one of that 20%.
Pardon my ignorance, but have you ever pitched in here as an opposing player?
No, I never pitched
Like
here,
teams.
but I played against it.
Have you been able to tell in fall ball that it's like elite talent going up against elite talent in terms of pitching versus hitting? Can you sense that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I'm ever going to be afraid to pitch against these guys or anything like that, but having to be conscious about where I'm throwing every single pitch and planning on the next pitch so I can be ready to get them out better than I have ever before.
How much does it help you to also face some other teams? Because you've been facing your guys so much, but to get to face some SEC competition in the fall, so how much does that help you know where you're kind of at right now?
Oh, it's going to help so much. I think the teams that we're going to play against, we already faced Auburn, we're going to play Alabama. Those are teams that can possibly face us again in Omaha when we're up there. And I think playing them now, learning what that's like, facing them is just going to be even better for us when season comes around.
JU, really good program, but obviously things a little bit different here. I mean, can you feel that energy? What's it like just coming to work every day in a place like this with this sort of pedigree?
Oh, it's great. You show up to work every day and you expect greatness out of everybody. Everyone is here, ready to go the minute we walk in the locker room. And it's just a great joy to be around these guys 24/7.
I know you work closer with Coach Posey, but did you have a sense of who Coach Jarrett was, and what's it like actually seeing him in action every single day?
It's obviously he's a great head coach, and it's a grind. He's going to put you through your paces, and he's going to make sure that this team is exactly where they need to be. And I love it. I love it here.
Anything else?
Awesome. Thank you.
Alex, how much more comfortable are you with this program and what Coach Jarrett wants out of you compared to this time last year?
A lot more comfortable. It's always different when you're coming into a new program, and I think this time around, knowing some of the guys coming back in here and the returners, it just makes the mesh a lot easier.
After going to Omaha, you got to go to play in the Cape, and you're on a team with Jackson. Just what was that experience like, and what did that do for you?
That was awesome. Going up and playing up in the Northeast and playing in that league, it's an amazing experience, and you only get one chance at it, and I think it's something that if anybody has the possibility to do, they need to go do it.
You really showed a lot of pop in your back kind of came out in the second half of the season, and with so many power guys leaving this team. I don't know if changing your role or approach, but are the coaches expecting, I guess, more out of you offensively this year, and how confident are you that you can execute?
I'm sure there's a little bit more of an expectation, but obviously I put a lot of pride in myself and how I play, and so I'm putting a higher expectation of myself this year and just trying to go out there and play good and help this team and just win.
Defensively, it just seems like your confidence continues to grow at short. Just how much of that comes from working with Link on a daily basis?
Oh, it's completely from Link, and every day you get a little bit better, and he's the best infield coach in the country, and I don't think it's close. And just the more reps, the better you get, and it's how it is.
You guys brought in a lot of new arms this year and brought some arms back as well. Just facing the arms throughout the scrimmages, just what has that been like so far?
It's been really good. We're gonna have a lot of depth, and that's something that we really will need, and I think we can win, and those arms are gonna be a big help, and they've given us a little bit of trouble, but that's what the fall's about. It's working through some kinks, and you need some good arms to be able to do that.
How has the transfer and the newcoming players adjust to the program, the facilities, and what do you do as returning players to make them more comfortable?
You just kind of try to make it like a home and just make them feel comfortable. Whatever they need, you help them with it. Try to help them with anything that's going wrong. Maybe try to give them some pointers, tips. Just trying to almost be a leader in a sense, just to make them feel more at home.
I think Tibbs said there was a practice last year during fall where things didn't go well. Coach kind of ripped you guys a new one, but you guys came out the next day, and I think everybody agreed that that moment you guys thought there was going to be something special. That's not going to happen every year, but has there been anything that you've seen that kind of gives you a good feeling about what's to come this season?
Yes, I do. We get into points in scrimmages where it's just there's some chirping back and forth, and I think once if teams are able to do that and compete with each other, you're going to be really good, because if you can find the way to have that energy to play against each other, playing on a field against another team, it's going to make it that much easier.
else?
We're good.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks,